Life is an adventure. And yeah, I mean, I think the way that I look at life is more about how can I experience, all the emotions that I have and how do those emotions that I'm experiencing them, how do the emotions that I'm experiencing affect how I am in the world and how the world kind of responds to me. And I think that's kind of like the essence of experimentation and adventure, you know? And, you know, some some experiments take longer to find the outcomes, you know? And some adventures don't feel like adventures all the time. You know, sometimes you're on a trip and you're just killing time, and you're like, I'm supposed to be on vacation or blah, blah, blah. But, um, yeah, I guess what that means is sometimes you are, or at least for me, the way that I look at the world is emotional. I'm pretty sensitive oriented. Um, I'm always, you know, trying to change the mood or add to the mood or, I mean, I'm very aware of everyone else's emotional things around me, and I'm very good at pressing a button and by, and saying a thing that changes how people are reacting, and that just comes from kind of practice of being aware of the emotions that I'm going through and everyone around me. And yeah, sometimes, when I because I experience emotions as an adventure, um, it just helps me to figure out where I'm going. And you know, um, you can start to feel stressed about what's going on, where you are going to end up, whether the world is crumbling or whatever. And that's just not my MO. It doesn't mean that it's wrong for anyone else to think that way. And quite honestly, most people who think that way are going to think that the way that I live is wrong, but that's just their MO. There's people out there that want to, you know, shift the world and, change things. And I'm fully I'm fully saying go ahead, dude. Do it. I do it. I believe in you. Blah 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 blah. But I really just live a world where I feel the emotions that I have are an experiment into like what kinds of feelings can I experience in this life, and it's not it's not the most, heroic life, but to me it does kind of feel like a hero's journey because I was thinking about it today. I was like, my life just gets better and better and better, you know? And the better I get at dealing with these emotions, the better my life gets around me. It's it's natural that, people feel comfortable and gravitate and invite me to things, and, life feels better. And it's if there's one social, change that I'd like to see in the world, it would really just be for people to have the option to go from a super stressed state to a relaxed state faster. You know, if that was the change I could see in the world, that would be that would be success to me, because I love, when people are excited about things. I love when people are on fire about life. And to me, if you are stressed out, it's like you're closing off. And I don't want to see people close off, you know? I want to see people happy. And yeah. And I feel like happiness comes from a place of peace, and then, it lets more emotion in, and the more emotions, the more peace you have, the more you could be like, I can accept more emotions now. I can put all these emotions together and see what happens, see what feelings come out. That's like the best part about like watching a movie or something, that, is that you're just you're watching this movie to feel all of the emotions that come with it, and you've prepared yourself with peace to understand, you know, um, a movie full of depth. You know what I mean? Like, that's a really cool thing to be able to, you know, say, oh man, I went and saw, you know, the Seventh Seal, and it was weird, and, it was strange, um, and it made me feel all these different emotions, and I still came out like happy. You know what I mean? um, it's similar to any kind of like sad movie that you're experiencing. You're like, oh my God, life is so terrifying sometimes. But you come out and you're like, there's things to be done. There's things to feel, there's things to experience. There's something out there that, expands me. And so, you know, um, looking at life like an experiment, looking at your emotions like an experiment or an adventure, it can really help you. And yeah, I mean, to me, I think, if like that's really kind of just what I'm about, and what I'm realizing more and more is like, oh man, I love emotions. I love how good I am with emotions, and I love how emotions um, help me in my life now. That I've like really, I grew up with a large EQ, and I didn't know how to do it. It's like, like a really smart person, they don't know, like really high IQ people, they don't know how to they don't know how to shut up. They don't know how to like just say, hey, just because I'm right about this thing doesn't mean that I have to bring it up and like bore everyone. And same with EQ. It's like, just because my emotional um, dial is charged up and I understand things going on, doesn't mean I have to like get get emotionally um, invested in them and like push that out onto other people. And yeah, I mean, if being able to look at the world as something that's, you know, an experiment, or a scientific world where you're like, oh, there's so many great things. Let me see what things I can pull from, and pull in those like harder things, and realize, 97% of the world is like pretty great. You know what I mean? But when I pull in one of those harder things, it's like it it adds a it adds a different tone to it. It adds a dissonance. Like it's like a seventh chord, or a sixth chord. It's like it just it feels like almost ominous while at the same time so beautiful. You know, like it's like seeing the Grand Canyon. Like you're looking at it, you're like, wow, how is this a thing? You know, it's so beautiful and natural, but at the same time, like you're looking at it, you're like, there's so much more than me. You know what I mean? And what is that thing that's more than me? You know, and that's kind of terrifying. You know, and but yeah, I mean that those are the kinds of adventurous emotions that I want to experience.